Hello, my name is Carrie Harmer, and this is for professional development for pre-service elementary school teachers regarding research-based mathematics instruction. So you might be wondering, why do educators need to know about math research and evidence-based strategies and how to implement them? Utilizing evidence-based mathematics instruction allows for teachers to implement universal design principles. According to Novak and Rodriguez in 2016, this can occur in multiple ways. Tiered instruction based on curriculum-based measures is one. Also providing multiple opportunities and multiple response modes for students to learn via activities such as digital, whole group, and small group activities is another way. Along with that, you are providing cultural proficiency by acknowledging and accepting differences in student learning styles, characteristics, and needs, while also demonstrating high expectations for all students. Universal design for learning principles are important to know because approximately 7% of students are diagnosed with a math learning disability by the time they graduate high school. According to Swanson et al., research includes children who score at or below the 10th percentile on standardized mathematics assessments as math learning disabled. Also, students who score between the 11th and 25th percentile might be considered low achievers. These students are between 5 and 10% of the student population. According to Swanson et al., students who are math learning disabled or low achievers often enter school already behind their same age typically developing peers. Along with this, they fall increasingly behind their peers, especially if they do not receive interventions and identification for services. Therefore, early intervention is often key to help close those gaps. An article by Zhang et al. In 2020 followed 1,880 children in Finland from grades kindergarten to 4th. While low-achieving children had gaps in growth compared to typically developing children, those gaps were not as wide and lessened over time. In comparison, children who are math learning disabled had increasing gaps in comparison to typically developing children, and those math learning disabled children also had increasing gaps throughout the longitudinal study in comparison to the low-achieving children. Swanson et al. In 2013 reported similar characteristics for these students. So what are math learning disabilities? According to Swanson et al., children with math learning disabilities have difficulty with numbers, difficulty with math fact recall, difficulty with counting, and difficulty with arithmetic procedures. Chin et al. In 2021 found, based on MRI results, that children who are math learning disabled had difficulty differentiating between different arithmetical problem types that was reflected in evidence in differences in cognitive semantic processing regions of the brain. Number skills impacted may include not being able to give a correct number for a small quantity represented without counting it out, and struggling to identify quantity concepts such as more, less, and equal. Students who are MLD may have frequent counting errors such as skipping numbers while counting in a sequence. They may have difficulty with one-to-one correspondence skills such as not touching one item at a time while naming a number for each item, and difficulty matching numerals to quantities by not matching the final number counted to the set. Students may also have trouble with math fluency. They may inconsistently recall math facts such as addition and subtraction with single-digit sums and minuends. They may erroneously recall facts one time and then know them the next time. And they may use immature strategies to solve, such as counting their fingers or drawing objects, instead of using associated facts or doubles. According to Swanson et al., students who are math learning disabled may also struggle with procedures. They may use less complex strategies to solve problems, such as using fingers instead of using knowledge of doubles, near doubles, or other strategies to solve word problems or math problems in general. They may not use all needed steps or reverse numbers, may subtract the wrong number in an equation, or use the wrong operation. According to Swanson et al., researchers do not agree on whether or not processing speed impacts MLD. However, most agree that some function of working memory is associated with it because children must hold numerical items in memory while performing mathematical tasks such as counting, solving equations, or solving word problems. While Zhang et al. In 2020 did not directly research working memory through testing in their study, they noted that because random automatic naming scores prior to formal schooling were predictive of identification as MLD, these type of assessments require a person to recall information from memory quickly and in sequence, which is associated with working memory brain functions. It is also worth noting that there are often subtypes associated with MLD. A child may be math disabled only, which means they struggle with math facts recall and procedures. They may have difficulty solving word problems, determining relevant information and what procedures to use and what type of problem is being presented, known as word problem math learning disabilities. They may also have a combination of both of these subtypes. Swanson et al. Noted that children can have both a math and reading disability. Difficulty with reading processes such as decoding and comprehension therefore further impact word problem efficiency. Difficulty with phonological awareness skills and working memory functions, such as the phonological loop and visuospatial sketchpad, are associated with both. Arrow et al. In 2022 also found that children with math disabilities, especially boys and those with more severe disabilities, were more prone to depression, anxiety, oppositional defiant disorder, and conduct disorders. So let's talk about evidence-based research so that we can use the research to make informed instructional decisions for all students. According to the Swanson et al. Text, explicit instruction is important for students who may be struggling. Teachers can use curriculum-based measures to determine student areas of need along with other diagnostic assessments to determine where to focus. They should deliver clear instruction that explains procedures, models how to accurately solve problems, and use strategies. Along with this, you are providing Tier 3 supports beyond the Tier 1 and 2 supports you will be providing within the classroom. According to the Swanson et al. Text, teachers should also provide instruction to avoid difficulty and misconceptions. They should consider what information students will need to be able to understand instructional targets. They should plan to pre-teach any prerequisite skills and refresh students on things that they have learned before. They can activate any background knowledge that may be useful, such as, have the students worked on a similar problem before? Have they struggled with something before? And come to a solution. Another evidence-based strategy is providing instruction in math concepts. Some examples of these would be counting and cardinality, numbers and operations, and schema-based problem solving. Based on the findings and research, delivered practice that includes repetition and is ongoing and consistent supports learning for students with MLD as well as others. Cumulative review allows students to maintain skills previously learned and prevents them from losing needed skills. According to Swanson et al., students need positive reinforcement, especially those with MLD, because, according to Arrow et al. In 2022, students with MD and MLD are at an increased risk for social and behavioral disabilities and difficulties. Evidence also supports differentiating instruction based on the disability. In the 4-study review listed in the Swanson et al. Text, students with math disabilities benefited from explicit instruction in basic facts and given practice within word problems. However, students that were math disabled with reading disabilities benefited from instruction in basic facts alone without inclusion of word problems. Perhaps MDRD students needed explicit instruction in language and reading skills to fully benefit from word problem applications. Further considering evidence-based practices on differentiating based on student learning needs, Powell et al. In 2022 performed a study of 75 students who were randomly assigned to either a business-as-usual classroom setting or small group instruction using pirate math to determine the benefits of small group instruction utilizing schema theory for word problem difficulties and if it was beneficial. Students received instruction and were taught skills such as identifying whether problems were total, difference, or change, along with strategies to solve. Students made improvements when provided small group instruction and lessons were carefully sequenced and planned with explicit and multiple opportunities for practice. However, a prior study where students received the same intervention in one-on-one produced better results. A final area of research I wanted to discuss in relation to MLD is the use of digital tools for learning. Benavides Marella et al. In 2020 performed a meta-analysis of studies related to the use of digital tools for instruction, both those that are tutorial and those that involve video games for students with MLD. The studies were randomized control studies between 2003 and 2019. 15 studies were found with 1,073 participants. Results indicated overall moderate gains for students with MLD who received instruction utilizing the digital tools. However, there was no difference between the use of skill and drill and teacher-assisted tutorials in comparison to video game-style digital tools. The researchers suggested this supports the importance of the role of the teacher, even when utilizing digital instruction. With that in mind, please keep the role of the teacher in mind as you consider evidence-based practices and what interventions work best for your students, whether they are math learning disabled or not. Here are the references for my current presentation.